Hello, this is Joey McDaniel. I'm going to walk you through the process in which it took to illustrate these emotions using the three images that I conceptualized through emulating a pro with duplicating Benedetto Di Maio's work. So the first image, I wanted to build a concept of romance, and I'm going to try and run through this as quickly as possible. Romance is a really complex emotion, so I thought that it would kind of be visually more appealing than, doing something that was more of a more basic or foundational kind of emotion. And so through my pre-visualizations for this particular composite, I really just took some ideas from Benedetto Di Maio's work using balloons, which is majority of the things that I had compiled for this particular course. And so that really was a range of me taking individual shots of different kinds of things that I thought would help build the idea of this emotion of romance. And I thought two boats meeting in passing was kind of a creative idea where the boats could, or the balloons could really kind of showcase themselves. So I did a few shots of boats and balloons close up in angles that I thought would help create this idea. So going to different places as far as gathering different ideas for shots was a range from going to seaports, parks, just places that I thought were enjoyable and could help really put the idea together. So some of the raw shots that I had used were basically just me compositing the different balloon shapes and kind of formulating this seascape background idea that's kind of got like a retro kind of feel to it, and then taking the ships and implementing them into the rest of the idea. So through that editing process, which was really time consuming, if you look at the photos, you can see that I've composited a number of different shapes, and then trying to implement the same idea in the boat by creating a boat out of the balloons, but that wasn't as successful. So I figured, why not just take the original shape and just kind of implement the opacicize background with a different color to help it stand out, and come to this conclusion. So there you have two boats that are made of balloons on a sea of balloons, and it worked out pretty well. So with emptiness, I thought that was more of a difficult task, but at the same time could easily be visualized, once you break down the whole concept of, where emptiness comes from, the idea of loneliness or being depressed, and thinking of things outside of what a person would look like or feel like, versus being somewhere where you visualize the idea of these different emotions, that conclude emptiness as being something that is considered a complex emotion. So the places that I had gone to, I thought if I composited different pieces from the images that I had taken that I thought were, how should I say, desolate or vast, had some kind of sensitive aspect to it in the realm of, how we perceive things to be comfortable or lonesome, or evoke some kind of idea that something is gone or there's something missing from that idea, looking at it from a perspective rather than seeing it as itself, I guess. So that basically took several different shots from different parks, seascapes, scenic areas, bright sunny day, empty beach. But in this case, I was lucky enough to find like a boat and off from a seaport, just kind of like a very kind of like desolate seascape where there wasn't a lot of people, and then also different shots from a park that had a great view of the water, which had a number of like really large trees. So compiling that idea, which wasn't as difficult, but still trying to figure out how to evoke this emotion of emptiness, singling out the tree and kind of using that as the framework to encompass the rest of this vast view, where there was a lot of sunlight, but the reflection kind of draws your eye out to the rest of the view. And right in the foreground there's an empty boat, and normally when you see an empty boat you think, okay, well, somebody just left their boat there, and it just kind of brought together those two ideas to think that there was more to the story of the image than what you were seeing. There something was missing, and I thought that would be a great way to emulate emptiness, using some ideas from Benedetto de Meo's work. So lastly, I had sadness, and I thought that was more of a simpler concept to do. I didn't want to try and take the idea as just visually seeing someone who was sad. I wanted to try and take an idea of something, an action or something that would make you think instantly you would be sad about. So with my pre-visualizations, I took some free shots at home with some balloons again, and I had found some of Benedetto's photographs of ice cream, and I thought, dropping your ice cream is like a great way to really, just ruin your day when you are going to get, a ice cream cone, and then soon after you buy it, you've already dropped it, and you either have no money or you got to buy another one, and it's sad. So finding shots wasn't as difficult, because most of the idea that how I was going to compile it really was dependent on just me having the right kind of images to create a focus. So balloons was really like the major idea behind trying to create this image. So some of the raw shots that I had were just different colored balloons and compositing them and grouping them together. And once I started doing that in Photoshop, it became more easier to take those pieces apart and kind of recreate this idea of having a dropped ice cream cone, on a floor, but then kind of giving it this retro 90s kind of feel, with an updated kind of appeal in terms of what I could do in Photoshop. And so lastly, that is what I was able to create just by compiling all these different shaped balloons and creating a background and redirecting certain images of different balloons to create the ice cream and the cone in a shapely way so it's recognizable, and then just kind of jotting, I dropped my ice cream cone, and that instantly would assume that, okay, well, someone was probably disappointed when that happened. So basically what I have learned in compiling all these images is really trying to find better ways of creating through Photoshop, or expanding my artistic vision by using Photoshop, and making things in a more professional manner, or a way that is more visually integrated in today's professional manners, as far as artistically creating and sharing something with people of different professional establishments. That's it. This is Joey McDaniel signing out.